Welcome back, writers! Today we're going to continue brainstorming ideas for our fiction stories. And today, I want us to think with this question in mind. What are some stories I wish existed in the world? Now, yesterday we were able to gather a lot of ideas for possible stories. But we're not going to just sit and start writing yet. I want to continue brainstorming more possible ideas because sometimes it takes a while before the perfect idea for a story jumps into our head. Now, I want us to think. Yesterday we took real life moments from our real lives and we thought about possible ideas for fiction stories based on those. And you might have also skimmed and scanned your notebook in previous entries and gotten ideas from those too. But today, I want us to think of something new. Today, I want to teach you that writers collect ideas for stories not only by finding bits of life or entries that could grow into stories, but by also paying attention to the stories that we wish existed in the world. Sometimes writers get ideas for stories by thinking, how can I write a story for people like me? How can we see ourselves in books? That's a hard question. I might want to start with a sentence stem, something like, I wish there were books about. Now, I'm thinking about me in particular, and I might take bits of my real life and think about how I haven't seen too many books that mirrored my own growing up. Now, one idea I'm getting is this. Now, I'm going to have to let you in on a secret. When I was younger, I used to be afraid of the dark like crazy. I had night lights, I slept with the door open, and it took many years for me to get over my fear of being afraid of the dark. And I didn't see too many books like that. So I might write something like this in my notebook today. I wish there were books about a boy who is half Mexican, lives with his parents, but he thinks his father works too much. He wishes his father were around more because when he's home, he isn't so afraid of the dark. But his job keeps him away from the boy, and the boy usually sleeps with the nightlight on to make him feel less alone and afraid in the nighttime. See what I did there? I took a moment from my life, or I took a moment that I wish existed in books, and I'm turning that into a quick jot in my writer's notebook about a story I wish existed. Now I want you to try. I want you to think about books that you wish existed in the world. Now remember, I want you to think about a character with his or her character traits. I want you to think about the character's struggle. Because remember, in all books, characters are going to have to overcome an obstacle of some kind. What does he or she want? And I also want you to think, what is that character going to do to solve that problem? I know that's a lot, writers, but I know you can do it. Take a moment and use this sentence stem, I wish there were books about. List across your fingers different ideas. Don't come up with just one. Come up with many different ideas for stories that you wish existed. I can see and I can tell that you're listing different ideas across your hand that you wish existed. For me, I wish that there were books about a boy who doesn't necessarily like to play sports. When I was younger, I used to be made fun of a lot because I didn't like to play sports. So I wish there was a book about a boy who didn't like to play sports, and kids made fun of him because of it. But maybe he invented his own kind of game that a lot of students really liked. And they realized that maybe you don't have to play sports to have fun. That's one idea. Maybe I can write a story about a kid who loves to sing, but he never sings around his friends because he's afraid of being made fun of. So he only sings at home. And one day, maybe his friends are walking by his house and they hear him singing, and they ask him about it. That could be another idea for a story. Maybe I wish there was a story about a little black kitten who was lost. Maybe he was homeless in Brooklyn, New York, and one day a teacher found him and took him home, and he became the best cat ever named Jonas. I don't know. Maybe you have ideas of your own. But today, as you're writing, I want you to think about what are stories you wish existed in the world. Take a moment and jot a few of those in your notebooks. Remember to think that your character is going to struggle with something. They're going to want to overcome something. Keep that in mind as you think about what are stories you wish existed in the world. I'll come back in just a little bit to show you what my writer's notebook looks like, so that way you have some ideas as to what you can do in your writer's notebook. Hey writers, sometimes when I'm thinking about stories that I wish existed in the world, I go back to my writer's notebook and I look at my issue wall that we created. Do you remember the issue wall that we thought of? These are issues that matter to us. We might think about issues like divorce or sibling rivalry, peer pressure or lying, or anything else that's on this list. Sometimes when we think about our issue wall, that will help us think of stories that we wish existed in the world. Remember when I told you to think about stories that you wish existed in the world, and we can start with the sentence stem, I wish there were more stories about. Well, from that, I thought of many different ideas for stories that I wish existed in the world. Maybe I taught about the boy who was half Mexican, lives with his parents, and was afraid of the dark. Or maybe I might wish that there was a story about a teacher who teaches in New York City, but he's new to New York City and it's different from where he was before. Or maybe I want to talk about a group of friends who are always wanting to do things together, like trips, or camping, or hiking. Or maybe I wish that there was a story about a kid who grew up with his grandparents because his parents weren't able to raise him. Or lastly, maybe I wish that there was a story about a kid who wants a new Nintendo Switch, but the problem is he doesn't have enough money for one, so he has to figure out how to get it. All right, writers, now it's your turn. Start thinking of stories that you wish existed in the world. See if you can come up with at least 5. Remember, if you're having any issues, you can always return to your issue wall and think of what issues are important to you as a 4th grader. See you next time, writers.